perhaps the best thing you can do is sit down and relax and just soak it all in with a nice meal. How about some porcini mushrooms at Restaurant Passetto? There's the porcini, one of the great treats of Italy. Only found fresh in season, mostly in the summertime. Typical of the antipasti spreads that you'll get in a good restaurant, and the fresh fettuccine, homemade. And watch out, here comes Italian truffles, sliced at the table. This dish was so elegant and wonderful in its simplicity. Just fettuccine with a mild sauce with truffles, bursting with flavor. This kind of pure, straightforward, simple dish allows that direct, musty, earthy flavor of the truffle to come through perfectly.
What we're going to do now is walk down just a few blocks into another old part of town. This place here, it's called Area Sacra. Also, it's called Largo Argentina. These temples were way before Caesar's time. They're about 500 BC, amazingly old. And they didn't even know about these temples until the 1930s. And you see how much lower the ground level was in those days, 2,500 years ago. It's a cat sanctuary as well, too. You'll see there's 100 or more cats living down there because people are not allowed down there except for archaeologists. And the local people come here and they feed the cats, too. So it's a really cute little place. It's like a park in the middle of the city. Largo Argentina.
Let's continue on with our walk into Palazzo Altemps, just recently opened to the public. Collection of fine classical statues inside with some original Roman wall murals. We find that walking through the city is definitely the best way to see a place. Much better than just riding around in a bus tour and then moving along to your next city. That's why we spend 3 days in Rome. Give you a real chance to go in depth and see a few little out-of-the-way places like the Palazzo Altemps. This was a palace that was built back in 1480, and it was occupied by various noble families and cousins of the Pope, and it was occupied by cardinals and other religious figures, and owned by the Vatican. Up until recently, it was closed to the public. But now it's open as a small museum, and you can pay a little charge and go in to see it. Only takes about a half an hour to walk around inside the 2 floors. You'll see the chapel, the various statues, the very impressive courtyard. There's a delightful trompe-l'oeil garden trellis painted in the arcades. We have the putti, little cherubs floating up in the heavens, and what looks like a real garden all around you at the Palazzo Altemps, just a block away from the Piazza Navona, the centerpiece of Rome. Piazza Navona by day, or as we'll show you in a moment, by night, is a wonderful place to visit. The Church of Sant'Agnese, designed by Borromini, and Bernini's incredible obelisk with the Fountain of the Four Rivers standing in front of it. Let's take a minute to enjoy the music of the street performers in the Piazza by night. piazza is just as lively and safe in the evening as it is during the day. Next morning, we awaken to another nice breakfast at our hotel Tiziano. We're staying right in the heart of Rome, only 2 blocks from the Piazza Navona. Tiziano is also just a few blocks from the Pantheon, from Largo Argentina, from Campo dei Fiori, from the old historic heart of Rome. We always like to stay right in the center of town with our Hawaii Geographic Society tours. And our walks through the streets are always a delight, for it gives us a chance to see how the local people live, fixing their bicycles, getting their furniture repaired, as well as seeing some of the real spectacular highlights and monuments of the city.
It's just a fabulous space. The name of this church is San Carlo ai Catinari, and it was built in the 1630s. So this is the Counter-Reformation. It's the Catholic Church fighting back against the Protestant movement, right? And during the whole 17th century, there was this major movement of the Counter-Reformation. The dome is the most spectacular feature. It's one of the highest domes in the city. This little street is called Via dei Giubanari, and it's just a charming little street with shops, with boutiques, clothing stores, and little cafes, and it will lead us into Campo dei Fiori about 4 blocks later. And again, we're just behind the hotel. We're only about 3 blocks behind, so it's very easy for you to find it again this afternoon if you wanted to come back. This was a field of execution. This has been many things over its 1,000-year history. During the Renaissance, it was really one of the most important centers of town. And if you'd like to come along, there's some things to point out. If you like to, anybody likes olives, they have in particular some very nice fresh green olives. They're just lightly brined. Nowadays you can buy them at home at Williams-Sonoma in jars. But here it's just in a big barrel, and watch out for all these trucks, they're still setting up. It's a good place to buy some fruits for today, and you can wash them off. They have water fountains here as well too.
This is Rome at its best. This is where the real people come out, and also it's a good place for the tourists to buy a few t-shirts and pick up on the fruits and vegetables, take some pictures. Any place you point your camera here, you're going to get a nice shot. Campo dei Fiori means field of flowers. Originally it was open meadow and flowers growing, and even today they sell flowers here. They also sell clothing for the local people, and this was really tempting for us Hawaii travelers to have a look at the different garments for sale here. A real bargain bin kind of situation. Very inexpensive. This is where the locals shop. So our Hawaii travelers were pouring through the piles to see if they could scoop up some bargains. Meanwhile, the husbands are waiting around patiently for the ladies to finish up. We take little shopping breaks on our walking tours sometimes when the opportunity presents. And then we continue on having a drink. Look at the street fountain. You put your finger underneath and the water shoots up through the spout. We're walking along these cobbled alleys through one of my favorite parts of Rome. It's a very colorful neighborhood between the Campo dei Fiori and Ponte Sant'Angelo. One of the streets you'll find is Via del Pellegrino. There's a number of these narrow alley-type streets with their antique shops and local people just hanging out, furniture repair shops. There's little markets, there's little cafes and restaurants that are sprinkled into this neighborhood. Formerly, during the days of the Renaissance, this was very much the heart of Rome. Many of these buildings date back 300 and 400 years old. And one of the very old buildings is Castello Sant'Angelo, with the Bridge of the Angels leading across the Tiber River. Angels carved by Bernini, makes a great backdrop for one of our group photos. And here's how we do it. Everybody puts their camera down, and one of us, this case June, takes all the cameras and takes pictures so everybody gets a group shot inside their own camera. And then the trick is to find your camera again, see if you can recognize it among all the other lookalikes. You'll shoot lots of pictures on your trip to Europe. Maybe you'll shoot some video. Here's some professionals on the same spot. It's one of those real scenic parts of Rome. And you want to bring along enough film probably to shoot a roll a day while you're traveling. It's a little more expensive to purchase film while you're there, and it's a bit of a hassle, so you want to bring along enough film and be well prepared from the beginning. So you can photograph these little street fountains and the cloisters. Here's a cloister built by Bramante at Santa Maria della Pace. It was his first work in Rome. He went on later to design St. Peter's. And we enjoy even such mundane sights as the construction of the cobbled roads. They don't use any cement or mortar. They just put the cobbles down into the wet sand and pound them into place. Makes a lot of sense. We then proceed into a tranquil place of great beauty.
This is the Piazza Navona, and it's another one of these splendidly decorated churches, just brilliant gold and stuccoed angels up on the wall. You know, stucco is a kind of a plaster mixed with cement so that it can be molded, and yet it's very strong and lasts for maybe 1,000 years. This church was built in the early 17th century, and it was built for Father Filippo Neri. He was the founder of the Order of the Oratorios. The oratorio next door is a secular building associated with the church. So this was a center of studies and for propagating the order and the movement. And Sister Marie tells me that there's even a branch in Honolulu of the Oratorians in the Holy Trinity Church. Holy Trinity.
Where's the Holy Trinity?
So they've gotten all over the world. It's one of their ideas was the joy of life, and they very much celebrated the joy of life. And another one was humility. To get into the order, in Rome, even the noble people who wanted to become lay members of the order, they'd have to get dressed up in burlap and wear donkey ears and a donkey tail and go parading through the streets as a sign of their humility. And yet it was open to everybody. And
Philip Neri, when he was 19 years old, just felt this call within himself to come to Rome. He had been his uncle had offered him a place in his business, but he just had this strong urge to come to Rome. And he really felt that he was supposed to convert Rome, if you can believe that, you know. And so he used to gather people together and have them read and discuss things. And he just wanted to get people thinking about changing their way of life. So, but the joy is a very important part of their thing. And then every day he would have a time where people could come together and talk about the things they read and share and pray together.
And thus the oratory next door was the more of the secular for the lay people who could really fully participate.
That's a significant part of it. He did not create a religious order, and he didn't want to create a religious order. He wanted to gather lay people and just get ordinary people to make a difference.
Now, when this church was first built for Father Neri, he was a very simple man, and he wanted it to be plain white on the interior, no decorations whatsoever. And that's how it was originally built. And after his time, the Counter-Reformation really kicked into full gear. And at that point, the redecorators came in, and Pietro da Cortona was commissioned to paint the ceilings. And Cortona is one of the greatest of all the ceiling muralists. And he's just done a splendid job with all of the gilding and the putis, the angels holding up the ceiling. And Cortona also painted the apse over the altar. There's some beautiful organs, and just one of the great churches of Rome. Again, with the Counter-Reformation wanting to preach to large audiences, the large mass, it's a huge space, but not too big, because one person can be heard throughout the whole church. And if they're all standing, you could fit many thousands of people in here, which is what they wanted to do. So if you want to sit here for 10 minutes and rest, that's fine, or if you want to get up and walk around, and then we'll be on our way.
Along with the stimulating visuals in the church, it's also a nice place to sit down and rest during our walking tour. Well, we're coming to the end of our visit to Rome, and what better way to cap it all off than with a wonderful meal at a local restaurant. This is a very historic restaurant called Costanza. Parts of the building date back to the time of Julius Caesar. See the brick structure here, the wall, the brick arch. they claim that was originally part of the theater of Pompeii, built nearly 2,000 years ago. And you can believe it, because Rome itself still stands after all these thousands of years, and there are many, many ancient monuments in the city that are that old. We've shown you the best of Rome, but now it's time to go. We're leaving by train from the Termini station right in the heart of the city.